I'm looking again at these Titanes, and I'm thinking, wow, these are very cool. Geez, But, the tech writer, editor in me is asking, what's the tensile module? What's the tensile strength here, the modulus, or the elongation at break? And oops. Uh-oh. I thought that I broke it. I thought that they might be joined in the middle here. And then I thought, well, if that's the case, let's do something like this. And suddenly we have a fairly familiar team color scheme, right? And take these, all right, just split them apart. And one's got the opening, one does not. You just kind of throw them together like that. And suddenly you've got, looks like very much like Raiders and Niners colors, right? Pretty much that's kind of the older tan pant look, the 80s look, the classic, really the only look for me. The Raiders, you can't beat that. So I figured, well, let's pull out the 80 Raiders and the 81 Niners. And it's just one of those cases, the great symmetry of sports, right? The 80 Raiders win a Super Bowl, and then their across the bay counterparts win a Super Bowl in 81. And then they repeat the process with the 83 Raiders, followed by the 84 Niners winning rings. Of course, the 86 Giants and 87 Redskins traded Super Bowls, beating the same opponent, the Broncos in 86 and 87. And then in 90, the Giants beat the Bills. In 91, the Redskins beat the Bills. Really crazy stuff. Also kind of crazy that the Bears never repeated, but then again with well, there's stories about that we can talk about. But Jim Plunkett, 80 Raiders, and Montana, the 81 Niners. Plunkett facing his old team. I always wanted to do a complete play it forward project. I know there's a lot of that going on. The championship teams, the great teams of the past, the great teams of the decades. I really want to start with a little mini tournament of the 41 Bears, Packers, and Giants. Winner goes to the 42 Skins, the 47 Steelers, 48 Cardinals, 49 Eagles, 50 Browns, Rams, 52 Lions. You get the message, the whole, all the way up, and just start seeing, who makes it the farthest. Let's see if the 2007 Patriots could carry it all the way forward. I got to figure that at some point, one of the teams within the past 10 years would ultimately, you knock off, it's a single elimination. In any case, looking at the Titanes here, pretty cool. Plunkett would be facing his old team. And since this is still pre-master game, remember, the old secondary rules apply. And it's really interesting in that you've got, for the Niners, of course, Cliff Branch and Dwight Clark, the great targets here. Actually, the Raiders are just down a point here. Plunkett versus Montana. Okay. Plunkett 3, Montana 4. However, Plunkett's got that dangerous pair of ones at 11 and 66, whereas Montana is a little more subdued with 4 at 11. And other than that, Montana's juiced at the 15. He's got a one-line edge at 15 and 17, two-line edge at 25, one-line edge at 44, two-line edge at 45. So ultimately, Montana's probably going to do better here, but of course, there are no asterisks among the receiving core. Kenny King has got a nice 1 at 66. Van Egan's your straight inside back. But the point of this is to look at the, go back to the secondary of the Niners here, and you see Lott, Wright, Williamson, and Hicks. Okay, so this is the 16-point secondary rule. In fact, with Lott at a 5, Wright is a 3, Williamson at 4, and Hicks at a 5, 10, 17. I like that. Easy math. So that's 1 point greater than the 16-point maximum secondary boost. Now, I was just looking back at one of the points of discussion with the secondary boost is that it was only the safeties who got the grade reduction against the long pass. And if you look at the original 60s boards, you can indeed see that where you see the receiver, it's really receiver grade index boost. You're not reducing the receiver's grade per se. It's the offensive's index. So you see here that in the wording with this original 64 set of boards, the index must be altered further. The index on a long pass may be altered further if the two defensive backs, LS and RS, left and right safety, have a total of 8 or more defensive points between them. And on the short pass, that alteration applied only if all 4 defensive backs, the left and right halfback, your corners, and your safeties have a total of 16 more defensive points. Now, I was always perplexed when people said it was only the safeties who got that long pass benefit, because in my 78 boards, 78, 79, well, 78 came with the 78 game, the wording is slightly revised to the index may be altered further on the long pass if any 2 DBs have a total of 8 or more defensive points. It doesn't mention the safeties there, nor does the short pass board mention, well, the short pass board lists all 4. Okay, so 16 or more. So you're in a B index, you get an A receiver, you go up to A, but you drop back to the B. You're in the C index, you get a B receiver, you go up to the B, but you drop back to the C with the good secondary. Of course, the AFL, ever maligned at the time, the 8 and 16 point rule was downgraded to 6 and 12 points. You see that right at the top of the 66 AFL roster, for instance. So even though Jim Plunkett here, facing his old Niners team, has that dangerous one at 11 and 66, the 16-point secondary of the Niners is going to hinder, it's going to keep him in check. What about the Raiders, on the other hand? What do they have? Well, the Raiders secondary is a little less powerful. And now, if you look at the Raider D, they should be in a 3-4, okay? That leaves you with a secondary of Jackson, Hayes, good old Lester Hayes. That 80 season was fantastic. Let's stick 'em. A little dab will do you, or a gunk or a glunk of it will do. So Hayes is the only 5-porter. Mike Davis, a 4-point safety, and they're stuck between a pair of 3s there. Burgess Owens, I believe, from the Jets, was he not? And so you got your 6, 10, 15. Ooh, just shy of it. Now, being that this is pre-master game, you don't really have the nickel rule. Or do you? You can easily add Mike Osteen, 3-point DB, sub out, I would sub out either Millen or McClanahan, and just go ahead and use that nickel rule, even though it doesn't show up for another couple years in the master game, and just use the rule. The nickel back will reduce the index for the receiving game, but it will elevate the Raiders to the A on a run play or a screen, which there is no screen in this version of the game. So a run play, Raiders go up to the A. I mean, it's, very flexible, very malleable. See these tiny, look at this game with the 64 game recently. It's just crazy. That we die. There's no way this should ever have occurred. And I'm worried about a 20-side die. Anyway, so that's just some cool stuff you can do with the Titans. You can color code them. Oh, jeez. I would love to see these maybe a little more rigid, but Montana to Clark, baby, right? And across the way, Plunkett to Branch. I figure this is going to be a fairly decent shootout and a good, maybe some good ball control. But, I don't know, slight edge. Just maybe add it up really quickly. What would we see if we do the rate? It's got to be in the B index. Well, we'll add it up for the sake of illustration. Let's make sure we've got our guys here, our safeties and our DBs. I'll move this gentleman over, and we'll run the Raiders as 3-4. Of course, you see Hendricks. This happened a lot with the 70s teams, the Patriots, Oilers, Raiders, Broncos. They were running 3-4s, but the game wasn't really set up with those position markers, Ted Kickham Hendricks, right? So these outside linebackers would often get the end designation, like Ted Washington of the Oilers. So you get the middle guard, the linebacker, and the end. Nice big J0 there for 6'7" and 220-pound Ted Hendricks. So just a little something to note there. So let's add up. Let's get these folks back together. These are the backups for the it wasn't Cedric Hardman. Wasn't he a Niner, I believe? Morris Bradshaw, Dan Pastorini. That 1980 trade for the Raiders and the Oilers. So let's go to Clarkville, Montana. So let's just see what the 81 Niners are sporting: a 4, 9, 12, 16, 19, and 20. No, wait a minute. Well, I've got a couple more folks in there, do I not? We got a fullback. No, you're right. I wasn't sure going full house backfield there. Another $1 million backfield try here. 4, 9, 12, 16, 19, 22, 26, 31. Good old Randy Cross. 34, 37, and 40-point offense. That's good, moderate against the Raiders in that 3-4. Be 4, 8, 11, 16. Place your bets. Can I? Yeah, 16. I feel like there's one under there. It's just a heavy, really heavy piece of stock there. Let's do that again, because that's Ted Hendricks is they beefed up his card, I think. That's a 4, 7, 4, 8, 11, 16, 19, 22, 26, and we know the, so it's 41 with that 16 point secondary, or 15 point secondary, 8, 7, 15, so firmly into B. And then for the Raider offense, I don't think they matched up that. I mean, I don't think they were that powerhouse, really. They was persistent. I was kind of hoping the Eagles would win that one, actually. Branch 4, Plunkett 3, 7, 11, 14, 18, 21, 25. Upshaw get the 5. No, Upshaw does not get the 5. He gets the 4. I've lost count. So 4, 7, 11, 14, 18, 21, 9, 34, 38, and 42. So I actually gave some good points to the O-line there. In fact, a straight set of 4s for 20 points. The Niner defense will counter with, let's see, what do we have? Do we have, and I think this was a little confusing. I thought they were running a 4-3, but they had to be a 3-4 at the time. Without looking at PFR and the roster, why do the prep work? Plus, Fred Dean is still there, so you already got a pretty strong O-line choice. Plus, you got 4 4-point backers, so you can pretty much do what you want there, and you got a 17-point secondary. So, geez, how do you want to play it? 3-4 or 4-3? Basically, everyone, in fact, is a 4, so it's a front 7 to 28 and 17 to 45. 45 to, what was it, 42? Again, in the B. I don't see any need for a floating index there, but yeah, that's another good point. In terms of the 8-point, 16-point secondary rule pre-1982 season, I and others had posited, why not translate that kind of point total to a strong front 7 of a minimum 28 points. 7 4-pointers like you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 4-pointers there, so you got a 4-point bench lineman, 4-point bench linebacker if you're doing a 4-3. 78 Steelers had a couple of 4-pointers. They had Robin Cole, Lauren Taves. You had your pick of 4-point linebackers and Banaszak, Dunn, Furness, and Dwight White in that 78 season. So, you know, pick is yours. No QS ratings, no one on the O-line got an interception. Really, the only interceptions here are from Keena Turner and good old X-Ram Hacksaw, whatever you want to call him, Reynolds. Willie Harper. Was he a Bear? I forget. No, I'm thinking of somebody else. In any case, Lawrence Pillars was a Jet, though, right? And Fred Dean, the Charger. In any case, so it'll be a fun matchup. But don't be afraid to mix rules. You know, you can play a nickel with the pre-master game and just use the rule. I mean, it's a one-off game or a one-off tournament. It's not a full season replay. And frankly, you know, if you did a full season replay, if you somehow could simulate all those deviations, that would be curious. But we're not going to do that. But we will try to kick this off in the very near future.